Welcome to Woah Drama Stories. We indulge of speaking of day-to-day troubles of human beings. Let's not wait any longer and start with the video. Story 1. My husband has always wanted a family. I've known that since the day he met me. It's something that he's so passionate about that he's never missed an opportunity to express his interest in the same. He's talked about wanting to have children and just have this warm, cozy, lovey-dovey family of his own. It was really something about him that I fell in love with. So we dated for 4 years, got engaged, and have been married for the past 2 years. And all this long, my husband has never shown an interest in wanting to be a partner/guardian figure in my daughter's life, who I had brought into the relationship from my previous marriage. This was an unspoken rule between each other. They were never completely cold to each other, but they weren't close like family either. Now, on to the current situation. I fell pregnant months back and gave birth to my son. Everyone, including my daughter, was at the top of the moon upon hearing this news. My son was someone she was so ready to accept with open arms. She even began taking care of him and babysitting him here and there. Well, I don't know what happened to my husband here, but from the way he acted, it seems like he was overwhelmed with happiness and read the room completely wrong. He began trying to force parental control over my daughter. It just wasn't control, it was him trying to give her love, support, care, and at the same time also pose his authority on her. My daughter immediately informed him to stay in his lane, and I guess it just ended up acting as a signal for him to try harder. This obviously did not end well for him because it led to them having a huge argument with each other 2 weeks back where my daughter made it very clear to him that he'd never be a dad to her, especially when he refused to act as a parental figure to her from the beginning of their relationship. All this argument happened in front of me. I didn't say much because I knew my daughter being 17, she had the right to speak to my husband without me interfering. I even quietly drove her to her dad's home after the argument ended and apologized to her on my way. She expressed how she wasn't mad at me, but my husband over how selfish it came off to her that he only wanted to be a dad to her out of his convenience and mental stability. Hearing all of this, and also the choice words from my ex-husband expressing his disappointment in me, gave me a lot to think about the drive back home. Things don't end here, though, because when I returned home, I was greeted by a very upset, almost teary-eyed husband. I know I might be an a-hole once again, over the top of all the things I've done, but I just didn't go and comfort him. I just couldn't find anything that required me to comfort him. At this point, I wished I could comfort my daughter and how badly I have probably failed as a mother. This led him to blow up at me. He was not happy. He kept asking me how cruel I could be a father. I told him he wasn't a good father if he expected to be treated like one for just getting up and expecting to be treated like one out of nowhere. We had a huge argument and I ended up driving myself and my son to my mom's place. I know I have a lot to improve on and a lot to work on, but with a situation as bad as this, I don't even know where I can start. I would really appreciate some insight here. What do you think I should do here? Update. This is a post with an update and edit, clearing some of the doubts you guys have combined into one. My daughter is currently 17 years old, and I met my now husband when she was 12. My husband and I are 37 respectively. As for my ex-husband, we got divorced due to some issues regarding mutual compatibility. It's nothing really as serious as you guys were speculating. My ex and I fell in love when we were in college, and by the time we graduated, we'd become very different people, but still continued the relationship as some sort of sunk cost. We then had our daughter and eventually just decided to separate mutually. That is why it never surprised me when my daughter still had a good bond with her father even after our divorce. Now, let me get to the update. My husband reached out to me today telling me that he needed to talk. I was skeptical at first, but eventually I decided to just go for it because after everything that has gone down, I knew I didn't have much to lose. So I met him at our house and he apologized to me immediately for everything that happened. I told him that it's not me that he should be apologizing to, but my daughter. He said that he has in fact called my ex up and invited him over to have a conversation. The bell rang soon after he told me, and there they were, my ex and daughter both. My husband invited them both inside and started off the conversation by apologizing. He then confessed his erratic behavior to the three of us by telling us how the moment he realized that he was going to be a parent, an immense amount of guilt took over him and he realized how bad of a guardian he was to my daughter. He then made it his mission to get my daughter to like him, and needless to say, that ended up terribly. We went on to have a conversation about the need for therapy for all of us, especially my husband. He was very keen on that idea. The fact that my daughter was willing to forgive him and restart a healthy bond with him if therapy was being taken into consideration also helped to calm my nerves down a lot. Currently, my husband, my ex, and my daughter are all watching a movie over a nice meal. I can truly see that they've started putting this behind their backs and begin adapting to this new change. I know it's not as easy as it seems, though, and I also know that as long as I have my lovely family with me, it'll all be okay, especially if I keep my husband on a watch. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Opinion 1. I feel like your husband is having some sort of breakdown. Maybe he's questioning his lack of involvement in your daughter's life all these years. Very inexcusable, though, because neither you or your daughter owe it to him to entertain this kind of behavior. Opinion 2. Good on you for siding with your daughter, but I really feel like you should have stepped in the moment it all started, since you knew full well how your daughter felt about the situation. Maybe this one time your daughter has excused it, but you're probably on thin ice, so be careful. Opinion 3. Your ex-husband and daughter are good people after what your husband pulled. Not everyone considers mental health as an excuse, and I'm not even complaining because mental health does not excuse being a bad person. Good on you for considering therapy. Story 2. I, female 32, met my husband, male 34, through a dating app. He had made it clear on his profile itself that he had a daughter who he loved very much, and it all made sense because what parent doesn't love their child more than life itself? I mean, I know the exceptions, but you know where I'm coming from. So I swipe right on his profile. We start chatting, go on a couple dates, fall in love, and the rest is history. I only met my stepdaughter after we were at a point of the relationship where we were sure that we were going to get eventually engaged and married. Unfortunately, however, from the get-go, it was obvious to me that she wasn't going to warm up to me. It was understandable because she had gone through a lot due to my husband's previous marriage. Her mom was extremely toxic, gave her abandonment issues, and was borderline emotionally abusive towards both her and her dad. This made her very vulnerable, and watching her turn this way made my husband very strong. He ended up divorcing her and fighting for full custody. They developed an unimaginable bond. So you guys can only imagine how strong their attachment to each other is. I knew this from the get-go, but I still had hope that maybe eventually she'd come around and accept me. Not as a parent necessarily, but at least as a friend of sorts. The complete opposite happened, though. There was no warming up, no cordial relationship. She just full-fledged hated me, and I could never figure out why. No amount of conversations with her or my husband, no amount of trying to do things that she enjoyed changed that. And just as I was just on the verge of giving up, she decided to do this and gave me the sign that I needed to stop immediately. It started when I couldn't find my credit card from my purse. Now, it makes sense if I lost it or it got stolen when I was out, but the thing is that I was home from work for the weekend, and I clearly remember having my card in my wallet that Friday. Initially, I wasn't that panicked, but once I received a notification on my phone that a purchase was made for $500 to purchase shoes, I immediately knew who it was. I didn't confront her immediately, though. I first went through her room when she was gone for school following Monday, and drum rolls please, the card was just lying there on the study table. What left me dumbfounded was that she didn't even try to hide the card. I knew this BS was way beyond my limits. So, once my husband and her were both at home the same evening, I sat them down. I still held my composure and talked to my husband about it. I told him that I wasn't mad at her. I was going to buy the shoes for her anyways for Christmas, but that I would have just appreciated it if she would have talked to me about it. I expressed how, although I was slightly disappointed, I was ready to let go of this situation and that she could just keep the shoes as an early Christmas gift. The both of them flew off the handle, and what was the most shocking to me is that they weren't mad about the situation. They were mad about the fact that I refused to buy her a gift for Christmas again. I was astounded as I sat there hearing my husband make remarks about me being a horrible stepmom. He brought up all my insecurities I had expressed to him about the relationship between me and my stepdaughter. I was left in absolute tears. I knew I couldn't live there anymore. I left numb, unloved, and lost. I packed my things and left for my friend's place. It's been 2 days since I've returned home or answered any of my husband's attempts to reach out to me. He had been spamming me all day long with texts, telling me how I'm just as terrible as his ex-wife for abandoning his daughter and him. I've talked to my mom about it, and she says I'm in the wrong for not being considerate enough. Now, I don't even know what to do anymore. Any advice? Opinion 1. One word. Run. You don't have to bend over backwards for your stepdaughter or your husband. If her unresolved trauma means you have to set yourself on fire to keep her warm, it's not worth it. Opinion 2. I'm sorry to say this, OP, but it is very likely that your husband is using you as a proxy mother. I guess he just really hoped that you would fix his daughter, and now that it's not working and the weight of dealing with her unstable mental health is falling on you, he's pinning it on you. You really do not deserve this. Story 3. I've always known that my mom isn't a huge fan of my sister. Her lifestyle is very different from us. She's pretty into the indie/alternative scene. She has this great sense of style, is artsy, lives in NYC with her amazing partner, earns crazy well, and has a buzzing social life. She's living the dream, y'all, and even though I'm completely different from her, I really love the way she lives her life to the fullest. Even she knows that. In comparison to my sister, I'm very introverted, shy, quiet. I love reading, having a small group of friends. I love staying back home and reading and just admire the beauty in being alone. I'm also aware of the fact that there's nothing wrong with living either lifestyles. To me, it's just not all that deep, you know? But my mom, on the other hand, oh my God. She just cannot, for the love of God, shut up about my sister. She thinks she's some sort of freak. She believes that just because she left our small town and lives in NYC, she's some crazy witch. But the thing is that she's never said that to her face. I mean, of course, her attitude makes it obvious what she feels, but it's not always that it gives her inner vile, mean opinions of her own daughter away, and there's a very straightforward reason behind it. My sister is a pretty popular artist in her field and makes great money. Her partner, too, much like her, earns well, so they financially support us here and there. Of course, my mom is stupid, but not stupid enough to bite the hand that feeds her, so she puts on a sweet smile in front of my sister. This time was no different. My sister finally got engaged to her partner. She invited us and paid for our travel expenses to attend her engagement party in NYC. I was stoked, but unfortunately, due to my midterms falling the same week, I just couldn't go. My mom, on the other hand, had nothing that was holding her back, so she made my sister pay for her plane tickets and made her make reservations to some places she wanted to visit, and my sister, being the lovely soul that she is, happily agreed. However, suddenly, right on the day that my mom was supposed to leave, she didn't end up going. She said nothing about it. Even though I tried to press her about it, she wouldn't confess anything. I stopped hearing from my sister, too, a few days after that went down, and I just decided to give her some space because I knew she was going to be busy. On top of that, I didn't want to overshadow this special moment in her life with the shit my mom pulled. So I stayed quiet, but a few days after I received a call from her telling me how she was sort of disappointed that I held back my mom from going to her engagement. I was quite confused, and right as I was about to ask her about it, she said she had to leave. The same day, I had to use my mom's phone because I wanted to get a number from her phone. She was in the kitchen doing her thing, so I forwarded the number to myself, and what caught my attention was the text thread between my mom and her sister. I could only see the new unopened message that said, "If I was a mom to a daughter like that, I'd do it too." I instantly felt my gut say that this was about my sister, so I opened it, and there, I read it all. My mom and my sister were having a back and forth between each other through voicemails. They were both bad with texting, talking in deep detail about my sister. They shamed her tremendously, and at the end, I heard my mom finally confess that she indeed made my sister spend her money on flying her to NYC, only to ruin her mood. It was also made clear to me there that she shifted all the blame on me, saying that it was me who held her back from going because I was jealous I couldn't go. Shock would be an understatement here because I'm just speechless. I'm having a terrible time understanding this woman's anger and resentment towards my sister, who's been nothing but a good daughter to her. Someone really needs to help me understand what we are doing wrong to upset our mom so much. I don't even know what to do because I know my sister will be hurt if she finds out that my mom did all of this. Update. Thank you guys for leaving comments on the original post. The reassurance was much needed and helpful. It encouraged me to reach out to my sister with the voice notes that I had screen recorded off my mom's phone. It wasn't an easy job, since like I mentioned in my earlier post, she's very backwards technology. So I sent them all to my sister, and she was not happy at all upon hearing them. We had a call where she expressed to me how she did have an idea, since she's always known that my mom wasn't a huge fan of my sister's lifestyle. She was just highly disappointed at the extent of it all. My sister told me that she was going to cut off my mom financially because she was tired of her BS. She also offered to help me move to NYC once I graduate college next semester, so I've already started planning for my move along with her. My mom is obviously not happy about all of this. She knows I'm behind all of it, but what can she say? Absolutely nothing, because she knows she is wrong and is just facing karma for being a horrible mother. I'm doing my absolute best to just ignore her for the last couple of months that I'm here. Thanks again, everyone. Opinion 1. Your mom is so backwards-minded, it's almost astounding. She wants the money, but also wants to shame the person who's giving it to her. What does she expect? LOL. Opinion 2. I don't think you'll be wrong at any point in this situation, because we all know that the mom is a terrible human being and deserves to learn a lesson. Good luck staying with your sister, and good luck to your mom ending up at the retirement home.